Well, good afternoon. Appreciate all the members of the media being here today. I'm Joe Carmichael. I'm chair of the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission. And we're going to take questions here in a minute, but I'd like to make a few opening remarks. First, I want to introduce those that are up here with me. We have Dave Nichols, who's the director of the department. To my right, we've got Greg Smith. Greg is a highway commissioner, and he hails from Clinton, Missouri. Kelly Martin is a highway commissioner. He comes from the Kansas City area. And we also have joining us today the president of the Missouri Chamber, Dan Meehan. And Dan has been hosting here today a transportation conference, and that's what's brought us all to town and given us an opportunity to talk about transportation, which we're always happy to do. This morning, when I helped open this transportation conference, I talked about the crisis that we're facing, the crisis of progress. Missouri transportation has made great leaps and bounds in the last 12 years in moving transportation forward in our state. But we see that progress coming to an end in the foreseeable future. MoDOT will no longer be taking on the big initiatives. Transportation will be simply a focus of ours that involves maintenance only. And that is a spot that, particularly given what we've seen in terms of progress in the last 12 years, that's a spot we don't want to be in, and I think most Missourians would agree with us. At a meeting earlier this month, the Highway and Transportation Commission took two strong actions, but these were disappointing actions. They were disappointing to us as commissioners. First, we decided that we should add no new projects to the STIP. And secondly, that we would suspend the cost share program. Since 1998, cost share has been a vehicle we use to join with cities and counties to do projects that couldn't otherwise be done, where we would each put some money in and make the project go financially. But given the financial forecasts that we're presented with, we have no choice but to stop adding projects to the STIP. And as you may be aware, the STIP is really our 5-year pipeline for projects. And we as commissioners, when we put a project in that pipeline, when we put a project in that STIP, what we're saying to our fellow citizens is that project will get done. Well, at this point, it would be irresponsible for us to make that promise to citizens when we don't know that we have the money to get those projects built. So we took that action. The cost share is truly a regret, because in the last several years, cost share has been one of the ways we've been able to make progress even though we didn't have all the money. We were able to call on our partners in these various counties and cities of our state to put money in and make things go as we wanted and as they wanted. So it's been a great partnership. Now, at this point, we're suspending that program. We're not canceling it. And we hope in the future, if we have the resources, we can renew the cost share program. We also are very hopeful that in the future we'll be able to start adding projects to the STIP once again. Now, aside from that, we have been developing a long-range transportation plan for our state. We've gone throughout the state. We've asked Missourians what they would like to see in their transportation system. What do they expect of their transportation system? What are they looking for in their particular locale or their particular region? And the responses are coming in. And what we're hearing is they really want much more of their transportation system. They're not interested in progress stopping. So we have a real dilemma there, a real problem, because Missourians are telling us, when we speak with them, they want more, But when we look at our balance sheet, we look at the financing that's available and the resources we have, we're unable to deliver what we're hearing from them that they want. So it's imperative that a solution be found. But we're an implementing agency. We do the work of the public. We can't pass taxes. We can't go out and levy and bring in receipts. That is something that really should be in the hands of the people. Now, at this point, I'd like to turn this over to Dave Nichols before we have questions, and let Dave talk a little bit about the financial forecast. What is our financial future? Why have we come to these conclusions? And have Dave color in a little bit further the situation we find ourselves in and what the future holds. So, Dave Nichols, Director of MoDOT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments. The transportation funding that we have in Missouri is primarily funded through the gas tax and diesel tax that we pay both at the state level and at the federal level. And a couple of things are happening in that arena. The first one is that people are driving more fuel-efficient vehicles, and people are driving less miles. And so the revenues that we're generating through the revenue, about 70% of our revenue comes from fuel tax revenues, both at the state and federal level, and they are actually in a decline. Historically, those revenues have been on an incline of about 3% as people drove more miles, and now that's actually on a decline. But really, one of the key costs that we have are the increased costs that we have with building our projects. Our last funding increase that we had in Missouri at the state level was in 1992, and the last federal increase that we had was in 1993. So the cost of building projects and producing work with those dollars that were generated at that level have gone up almost 200% in some areas and even more in others. And so really we're able to do less with the dollars that we have to invest, and that's really where the challenge is hitting us. And so we're finding ourselves with going from a very robust highway program of about $1.3 billion in construction projects in about 2005 through 2010 down to about $700 million today, and in 2017, this is fiscal year 2017, we will be down to $325 million in construction projects. That's not even enough money to do the preservation work that the commissioner was talking about or describing to hold our own to keep our highway system in the condition it is today. Mr. Chairman, do you want to
have questions?
Of this nearly $1 billion anticipated drop-off from the height of the program to 2017, how much of that is debt service for?
The debt service is about, at the highest point, it'll be about $300 million a year.
So the rest is the fall off in gas tax receipts and?
Yes.
When you say you're adding no new projects to the STIP, the 5-year plan, is that to say no new expansion sort of construction projects, or do you mean you're also not doing additional maintenance?
No, typically what it means is these would be what we classify as major projects. Our maintenance preservation work that we would do with resurfacing projects and bridge repair and bridge replacement, we will do at a very small level. We won't be able to do as much as we would like to do, but the work that you would see would be resurfacing type projects and bridge repair type projects. And I do have to say there will probably be safety projects that will have to be done, but that'll be a trade-off between a preservation project and a safety project that has to be done, but no major projects. Those big projects like major river bridges and those major interchange reconstructions, we just won't be able to do.
So like the new bridge in St. Louis, able to finish that, but you wouldn't have been able to start it if it had not already been under construction. The 4-laning road just east of here going to Lynn, you can finish that, but you would not have been able to start it under the future scenario.
That's correct, Bob. And even we have some projects that are actually in our highway program right now. So you may see a project that may appear to see, well, what's the Highway Commission and MoDOT talking about when they're finishing a project or starting a project that's already in the STIP. As the Commissioner said, we are honoring the commitments that are in our existing highway program. So over the next year, you may see a project that may be a reconstruction project that may have widening or something like that in it. The reason we're honoring the commitments that are in the existing STIP, it's really about adding new ones. So those projects that you see that are under construction, absolutely, they're going to be finished. And the projects that are identified in our existing STIP for construction dollars, we will also do those, but they're going to run out very quickly.
It's a 5-year plan, so when you say you're not adding new projects, you're meaning you're not adding projects in that year 5, essentially, in 2019, right?
Well, it's even sooner than that, David. Where we're at is what we do is we typically fill up our first 2 years of our highway program, what we call completely full. About the third year is about 75% full. The fourth year, maybe 25 to 50%, and then, of course, the fifth year is the year that really has no projects added because it's the new year coming in. What we're going to do is leave that cushion of dollars unprogrammed out there in case a project, because of funding unknowns, if we have to move a project out in the STIP, it's still a commitment, but we don't want it to leave the highway program.
As far as the local match projects, were there applications pending on particular projects you're not going to do because you suspended those?
All of the projects that had applications that were approved by the Highway Commission they are a commitment, and we will do those. The application process, we have actually suspended that. So there were various projects in the developmental phases, and those projects will be suspended for now also.
Give me an example of some projects that were in the developmental phase that aren't going to be going on now.
I don't really have an example that comes to mind right now because there's really lots and lots and lots of projects that are out there at various levels of discussion. But all the projects that have made it through the cost share process and made it to the Highway Commission for their approval have now been added to our 5-year program, and they are a commitment, and we will deliver those.
Are you here to back the petition campaign that's underway right now to put a sales tax increase on the ballot in November?
Well, and I'll let the chairman
let me-
take that question.
I mentioned in my remarks that we're really an implementing agency. And, first of all, I'm not aware of what's been filed or may be filed. I mean, there is talk that there's going to be a process over at the Capitol to get some legislation to put before the people a 1-cent sales tax. But right now, we don't have that in front of us, and that frankly is unrelated to our discussion here today. We're here today to talk about the reality, and frankly, I'm hopeful and prayerful that something will happen on that front, but that's not the discussion we're having here today, because there is nothing that's passed the legislature at this point.
What would it take, either through a gas tax increase or a sales tax increase, in terms of dollars, what kind of additional revenue do you need to stay at the level you were at last year?
Are you talking about construction projects?
Yeah. In order to,
I mean, our construction.
In order to take back the decision you made earlier this month, how much more money a year do you need?
Well, I think that's a tough question. What I can tell you is that we need, just to maintain the system, we need to be doing $485 million a year in construction projects. This year, we're going to have about $685 million. And we're not at the level we want to be this year. And when we look at what our fellow Missourians are telling us when we go out and talk to them and putting together this 20-year plan, we see they want really much more. So I think that's going to be pretty much up to the public if they decide to do additional funding for transportation. We're going to give them as much as we can, given the dollars they give us to work with.
Well, let me ask This way then, for each penny increase in the fuel tax versus each penny increase in the sales tax, how much money does that give you? Or do those things give you?
Off the top of your head, I bet you can.
Yes.
I can't.
A 1 cent, and this is in today's dollars. And again, just know that the fuel tax revenues are actually going down instead of up. Just an order of magnitude, it's about $39 million a year total, with a combined 1 cent fuel tax. That's gas and diesel at the state level. It gives you an order of magnitude. A 1 cent sales tax ranges between $700 and $800 million in revenue annually as sales tax increase.
Dave, the figure $485 million was thrown out as sort of a treading water figure. What does that mean? Does that mean just maintenance, or does that mean maintenance with some projects, capacity projects thrown in? What does that mean?
Ken, it wouldn't be capacity projects. What it would be is a more robust approach of keeping bridges replaced. Bridge replacements are very expensive, but also keeping our roadway pavement condition, but also significantly it would allow us to do work on safety improvements around the state. As we did with guardrail, guard cable, rumble strips, and things like that, where we still have many, many miles of roads to do those. So it would allow us to continue to do some work on those, but not enough to make major change.
You mentioned during your remarks at lunch, history being an issue here. This is not the first time the public has heard kind of a sky is falling scenario from MoDOT. How do the proponents of these measures overcome the past? What makes this year different?
Well, I think one of the things is we're having a very robust, open dialogue with the public through our long-range planning process, and I hope that our communication is very open and honest with stakeholders and the public in general, that we're doing the best we can to identify what the financial situation is, and that ultimately the public is going to decide what they want in their transportation system in our state, and then we're going to have to make a decision as Missourians what level we want to fund that at.
Dan, does the Missouri Chamber support the 1 cent sales tax initiative petition drive?
Our board of directors has taken a position in adopting our legislative agenda, which included that as part of it. So yes, we think it'll lead to curing some of the problem that you've heard talked about today. And if we invest in transportation, it means good things for economic development in the whole state.
So where does that initiative petition stand? Do you have any signatures as we speak?
There's discussion over which way to take it, whether it's through the legislature or the initiative petition route. There's active discussions on both levels.
Is there a chance in the legislature?
I'm sorry?
Is there a chance in the legislature with some of the guys?
I think there's a chance. You never know when you're early on in the legislative session, but I think that the commission and the department have laid out a very compelling case for what we're going to face as a state. These numbers aren't made up. It's a stark reality that we face.
Is the speaker on board, or have you guys talked to him about this?
We haven't talked to the speaker about that. I don't know if anybody, I'm not sure.
So Dan, if this is going to make the ballot through the initiative process, they got to start gathering signatures pretty much within the next few weeks here in order to make the May deadline. So are you telling me that hasn't started yet, without signature gathering?
Not to my knowledge, David, but there's still time to do this.
Would you help them with the petition circulation if they do go that route?
Yes, we most likely would. If that's the way that we need to proceed ahead and invest in our infrastructure, then we'd be in it for the long haul from the beginning.
Are there any other options in terms of, either gas tax increase or sales tax increase? Is there any other pot of gold somewhere that could solve this problem without a statewide vote or legislative activity?
I just don't think that the incremental amounts from the fuel taxes can get us to where we need to be. And aside from some help from U.S. Congress and Washington, D.C., I don't think it's there, and they haven't proven too effective in delivering.
Now, there's a federal constitutional mandate for Congress to pay for the post office, and the post roads, which would be the highways. As you talk to members of Congress, do they understand that they're supposed to keep paying for this stuff?
I'm certain they understand that. We had a presentation from a staff member from Senator Blunt's office who definitely gets this and understands the need.
Will I-70 still be a priority with maintenance, and have there been discussions about possibility of tolls on that?
At this juncture, there's really no active discussion about tolling I-70 or any other road in Missouri.
Tolling would only help you on the road where the toll is placed, correct? It wouldn't help you.
Right. That's correct. But there is no discussion of that that I'm aware of either in the legislature or elsewhere. So I think that's not a route we're going to be headed. Any other questions? Well, again, appreciate you all being here. Appreciate your interest in transportation and safe travels.
Thank you all.